Hi friends, it's Brittany at Ink and Papyrus and welcome back to my channel. My hope from this video is to inspire you to create things from these household magazines I know you have laying around. Today I'm going to be sharing with you a bunch of projects that I have already made and hopefully inspire you along the way. Some of these images are naturally beautiful as is, and some of these images you may not think that they would be usable in projects, but I'm going to show you that when you look at these pictures through a different lens, you can really come up with some beautiful pieces of ephemera. So first, let's take a look at some of these gorgeous projects that I was able to create at home using just a few basic supplies and a couple of household magazines. Okay, let's start with one of my absolute favorites, seed packets. So I simply upcycled images I had from an old Burpee seed catalog, cut them out, glued them down to copy paper with glue stick, and then I folded the copy paper onto itself to create a pocket. These are all actual pockets. I did some stamping on the front and the back, and then took my Sizzix Big Shot machine, cut out these letters, seeds. And I did go around this with some charcoal pen just to really emphasize the image, get it some oomph. And yeah, I absolutely love making these. Next fun little addition, cigarette cards. One of my absolute guilty pleasures is going through Condé Nast Traveler, Nat Geo, and making a bucket list of all the places I want to go to in the future. I have to say, these travel magazines yield some of the most gorgeous images for these kinds of projects. So naturally, one of my absolute favorite pieces of ephemera to make with these, of course, are postcards. Oftentimes, I like getting a beautiful image, sizing it down to a singular focal point, or it could be a very busy image like this, and then I'll take other words or symbols or even like a piece of map from the magazine, especially if I can find other images related to the place. This just came from verbiage from a completely different page. I sewed around it, and then I simply take my ruler. I actually did this with watercolor, but usually I will just take my ruler, draw the line, and then handwrite postcard and put a really cute little stamp in the right hand corner. You don't have to sew these, of course, but I find that sewing really adds an extra special touch. I should mention I usually like to mount, especially the postcards, I like to mount them to cardstock. Thicker works better. I have to say I was disappointed in this. This was a beautiful image and I ruined it by shoddy technique. When I was gluing this down, I didn't get the air bubbles out, and once it kind of dries, there's really not a whole lot you can do about it. I will show you some different techniques to help avoid that in the future. It is still a pretty image. I went around it with some sewing, and this was brown, so I just gessoed the back to leave myself some extra writing room. Better Home and Gardens is a great magazine if you're looking for images of botanicals as well as things like recipes. So here I have 3 recipe cards. Usually I will take a thick cardstock or old card, and then I will take pieces of the image, glue it down, maybe put some verbiage. Here I have the name of the dish, and then a little bit about what yakisoba is in the corner here. And then I have my ingredients and the actual recipe itself. So you'll see that even though this came on a whole page, a lot of times there's a lot of extra white space you can get rid of, and most of the time if you have a decent sized card like this, you can get an entire recipe onto one card. And I actually think I'm going to create a recipe / cookbook for myself, and maybe we'll do that in a future upcoming video. Here I found a really yummy piece of photo of food. It didn't come with a recipe, so I put this on brown paper bag, put some verbiage, and left the entire back blank, so I will just put a recipe of my own. And of course, who doesn't love a good cocktail? Here I just gessoed over this brown cardstock, did a little watercolor painting, put an image of a drink, went around with a charcoal pencil, put a little tag up top, and gessoed on the back, wrote ingredients and a recipe. So this is an example of a handwritten drink recipe. So who doesn't love a cute little Polaroid? So this is what I mean when I talk about utilizing magazine images that may be a little bit more abstract. You may not find them inherently pretty the first time you see them, but look, I've simply backed them with some cardstock and put a little bit of white paper down here to replicate what a Polaroid would be, and you have a little extra writing room you can label. You could doll these up further. These were made to be, this was an advertisement for wallpaper. You could put something over top here or leave them as is, and then of course have there be blank space on the back for writing or whatever you would like. Also from Better Home and Gardens, a simple flower bouquet that I cut out by hand, and I simply backed it with some brown paper bag to give it some sturdiness. You'll find that especially if the magazine images are going to have to be backed with something, or else they're so lightweight they'll just fall over on themselves. So this was a way to back the image, make it sturdy, and I cut out a little piece of cardstock shaped like a bouquet, put some stickles around it, and I backed this with some pink cardstock and some shimmery cardstock behind it to make like a little journaling card, and put some fabric up top. Who doesn't love a good paper doll? You can keep these really simple, or you can give them a lot of detail. As I have done here, I've created her a hat, a little veil, earrings, a little scarf, a belt. I painted on shoes with some belt buckles, and of course her top and skirt. If you are looking to get some more instruction as to how I like to find and decorate my paper dolls, I will include a related video above and in the description box. Here is another example of a paper doll, of course found in probably one of the fashion magazines I have. Here she is. I made her a little bouquet and this beautiful skirt. Speaking of fun, mini faux stamps. I simply cut out, there were all these, I think it was my Better Home and Gardens magazine. They had these little tiny logos, or actual like fun-sized pictures of actual food products. If you can see, Chicken of the Sea. Do you recognize any of these? And I thought, what would I do with these? Oh yeah, like why don't we make food themed stamps? So I just backed them with some brown paper bag, cut around them with deckled scissors to make it look more like a stamp. There's Kerrygold, my favorite butter. Added some verbiage on some of them, stamped over them to actually make them look like a legitimate stamp. And there you go. And I will contend, these are so cute and so literal bite-sized. These are probably images you would never think to use in your journal. But look, get creative and you can find a great way to use them. Next, I have some ephemera that came from my Nat Geo Space magazine. Look at these journaling cards. These are actually cut out planets, and I found some verbiage in the little space section that I put glued onto the planet. I went around and sewed all of them to this copy paper, and I left the back blank for extra journaling room. Again, I would never think to necessarily cut out planets and use them in my journal, but alas, here we are. Some of these are ripped in half. That's because they were up against the middle of the page, and so I simply just put them back together, and I actually kind of like the effect it gave them. So these were once what appeared to be boring little pictures hanging on a wall in Better Home and Gardens magazine, and I turned them into vintage paper buttons. I simply lined these with a couple of sheets of copy paper until they were the thickness that I wanted. I punched 2 holes and just put a little bit of embroidery floss through them, Went around these with some gilding paste to get them this nice gold shimmer. And then this was a larger one, so I went ahead and did the same process with this one, except instead of just punching 2 holes, I punched the holes, set the eyelets, and got this cute little vintage paper button. These were kind of like throwaway images when I first saw them, and look at them now. Some more cute random little pieces. I cut these out, these food products, and back them with some thick cardstock. I think I'm going to include this in the recipe journal I was telling you about. Same with this. I made this into a journaling card. I found this like Spiceology picture. It just was advertising some spices. I put the image on cardstock, did a little something something, sewed it, and left myself a little writing room. Maybe I'll gesso the back to also give myself some writing room. This is just a Better Home and Gardens right on some brown cardstock and sewed over it with this floral sewing pattern. This is just a little page tab that I made with some strawberries on it. And this, I don't even know what this is, but I think it's pretty cute. Food product. I gessoed up here to give myself some writing room. I think I made it like, I don't know. I think I wanted it to be like a house shaped. I don't know, it's kind of weird, but I don't know. I like it. This is just a simple belly band. Speaking of dressing up abstract images we wouldn't necessarily think to put in our journal, this was actually an advertisement for a fish oil supplement, and I gessoed around this lightly, and I thought, you know what, this kind of looks like the center of an avocado. So I went around this with some different green, and I'm definitely going to, I love guac and I love avocado, and I'm definitely going to do an avocado themed spread, and probably in my recipe book I'm going to make. Here we have more space images from Nat Geo. I cut them out to be the same exact size and just mounted them to cardstock to look as if I was creating a paint strip, and have the label down there, the first stars, and then I left the back blank. So this also came from a travel magazine, and I've been wanting to do, I've actually never been to Italy. I actually want to do an armchair travel journal where I collect ephemera and information from places that I've never been, almost like a real live journal bucket list. So I mounted this to some cardstock, I sewed it to some other paper and made an accordion out of it. Don't judge my painting skills, they need some serious work, but there are a lot of wineries there, and so I painted a bottle of wine, did some journaling of some information I found out from the magazine, water painted a very loose replication of a lake that is found there, and just did some different folds and cut out some words, some more information about it, and also got some maps out, and this is what I came up with. And this accordion fold out was all just simply inspired from a single piece that I found in Condé Nast Travelers magazine. So guys, now I just want to look in real time with you through these magazines and give you a couple of project ideas. I am simply going to flip through the magazine and give my first impression of something that I think could be made from that image. So this is just going to be a random flip. What we see is what we get. And I'll have you know I'm not cheating. These markers were there before. I've actually already created projects from the pages that I have marked. So let's just, oh my gosh, would that not make a beautiful postcard right there? Like galactic postcard? Or even an accordion flip through like I did with some information about space and stars. Wow, that would be beautiful. Okay, same thing there. Imagine that as a postcard. Or even like faux stamps. I think that you could cut out that astronaut. Some of these stars, those would make amazing faux stamps, just backing them onto like brown paper or white cardstock, and just make like your own NASA faux stamps. How cool. Don't forget to cut out like larger words when you see them. I love embellishing little projects just with random words. You could literally just create your own story with the words you cut out. Okay, next let's move on to this Better Home and Gardens magazine. I mean, what, you know, like look at this, you know, make your own recipe card like I showed you earlier. Remember, the benefits of the card is you can get, you know, cut this down to size. You can eliminate some of the repetitive steps that you don't need and essentially get the recipe on a single card that you can keep in a journal for later use. How pretty. Oh, look at this. I would love to send a postcard with just this. Okay, or of course, if we can find, let's see. Entire beautiful pages of images like this one, especially if you don't want to cut it out, you can actually find a lot of envelope templates online and maybe just use the entire page to make an envelope. I would still glue this with glue stick, back it to copy paper so you get thickness from it, or else these magazine images easily tear. Wouldn't that be a cute image? If you guys have pets and like to make memory books for them like I do, wouldn't that be a really, really cute image to put on a cover? I'm gonna have to save this. Oh, I love that. And like, maybe I'll steal that. Love at First Sight still exists, and put a picture of me and my dog on his memory book on the cover. That would be adorable. Okay, let's see what else we have. This came from the Wallpaper projects. I love making Polaroids, like I showed you earlier. Let's see. Oh, how pretty. So many things you can do with this. I would definitely cut out this map and use this. Again, what a beautiful postcard that would make. Okay, on to Condé Nast Traveler. I was thinking this image right here, like you're looking out of a window, how pretty would that be to actually make a journal cover and cut out the same corresponding size circle out of chipboard or something like that, and actually have it be like three-dimensional, like you're looking out the window to that view right there. Absolutely beautiful. Love those palm trees. There's a lot of words and things on here we could use. That cruise ship, you might not like the advertisement, but what a pretty image this would make right here. I was thinking like these botanicals and stuff, you could even make specimen cards out of this. They'd have to be one way, obviously, because you'd be backing this with copy paper and, you know, traditional specimen cards, you have something on the front and the back. So, but putting like something like this behind plastic, or the packaging that we normally make specimen cards out of, how pretty. You could cut this out, this little purse, and use it as an embellishment for one of our paper dolls we were looking at earlier. Give her a purse. You could totally, I don't know, I can't think offhand. Like, it would be an absolute letdown to not do something with this. I would just have to think carefully what I wanted to do. This is very loud, but there's no way I'm gonna throw this away without doing something with this image. Like I was showing you earlier, you don't necessarily have to have a corresponding recipe. You could just see an image you really like, mount that on brown paper bag or some copy paper, and make a recipe around one of the main ingredients you see in that plate. Even look at this silly Capital One advertisement. Look at the water. We could definitely make some ocean themed ephemera just out of this right here and just using this as our background. Anyone working on a fairy journal, I especially am guilty of always buying digital ephemera when I have all these pretty magazines laying around. Look at this gorgeous mushroom background here. Could definitely make something out of this. And then look at this layout. Look how pretty these would be as individual specimen cards. Just cutting around. You could fussy cut these out and put these over top background, or you could just use them as is and create a fairy themed like forest layout and just put these in the foreground. There's so many different things you could do with these. I'm saving this for a future fairy journal. I absolutely am. So this is another Better Home and Gardens magazine, and I wanted to show you guys the vintage paper buttons I made. I actually used wall hangings like this. You might not see these images as something you would want to put in your journals, but if you cut these out, it's the perfect size for a button. Same with, if you would prefer a circular wall hanging, that's fine. I thought the squares made a really, really unique button. You just need to layer enough copy paper behind it that it gives the proper thickness, punch some holes, and there you go. Look, you could even make jumbo buttons out of these dough balls. Crazy, but anything's possible. And I would love to make seed packets out of these. I would just cut similar sized images from this orange, yellow, and pink. I guess this is witch hazel. And simply back them with copy paper, make a fold to create an envelope, and do some decorating, maybe some sewing, and there you go. Look at these cute little pin cushions. I'm definitely going to cut these out and use these as images for something. Maybe I'll make some sewing themed specimen cards. I'll cut these images out, back them with copy paper. Maybe they'll be single side specimen cards, but put some threads and some paper buttons in with them and make some adorable sewing themed specimen cards. I'm so excited. Again, images you wouldn't necessarily think to put in your journal, but when you look at them from a different perspective and a different eye, you can really create something adorable. And I find that actually using the images to inspire you to create makes you more creative and pushes you to create different themed pieces and different styles of pieces you wouldn't have necessarily thought to create on your own. So I have to share with you this very, very simple storage solution. As you cut more and more magazines apart and think of things you can do with the images your stash is going to be busting at the seams. This is the simplest way I have found to store these images and to make it less overwhelming. I have an order of general categories so that I know where to find things. This pocket here, I am storing the covers because I do think that some of these I may actually want to make or use as a journal cover itself. Look at that adorable one. So my first pocket here is covers, and I have simply used plain plastic little dividers to sort these, and have just, like I said, have sorted them into themes to try and keep it at least somewhat organized so I can find what I'm looking for. I think this one here is just architectural stuff. It's more Better Home and Gardens images, and like I said, get creative. These are images you may look at and you may not know what to do with them, but I promise you I have some ideas in mind, and I know you guys can come up with stuff too. Okay, plain. These are places and pictures of trips and landmarks. So this is my trips and travel pocket. More trips and travel. More trips and travel. You can see I love my travel images. Some of them are maps. Some of these are from Nat Geo. I talked to you guys about an Armchair Travelers magazine or journal, which I'm really looking forward to creating. These are smaller, so these are smaller dividers with pockets. So this is also trips and travel related. They're just smaller pieces, and I think it's easier to keep track of when you give them their own little home as opposed to putting them in this large envelope. This is Botanical, smaller Botanical, more Botanicals. These are just random things. Animals, people, so people, some clothes that I'm going to use to put together some paper dolls later, things like that. These are all words that I have cut out. This is food. Pretty cool stuff in here, right? So guys, I really hope this inspired you to make some of your own ephemera and embellishments for your journals from magazines you have laying around at home. Like I said, I will attach the related videos above and in the description box. If you found value in this, please hit that like and subscribe button, and I can't wait to see you the next time.